Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Kirk, we are still going strong with our music series today. Last week we had Pop Culture Pastor on. Sorry, Pop Culture
Man,
Pastor
that was such a
podcast.
fun day.
Yeah, it was. Thank you guys for sticking around for 2.5 hours of that episode. That was a ton of fun. But
today, for 2.5 hours, it's got a lot of watches, man. I love it. I love it. But we had two guys on. It's first time live with two. Hey, as you're coming in, drop your name in the comments. Say hello. Where you at? Where you watching?
James Billy is joining us.
Hello, James Billy. So
National
here's
Park
the deal. Today we're going to have a new guest, a new friend. And when I sent, if you guys, Alan, I see you down there, MPP, National Parks Princess, those are all our friends from Modern Day Breakfast Club with Bert. But guys, if you guys are ever on the show, this is what we usually do. We reach out to our people, our hosts, and say, hey, what's something you'd want to talk about? This one wasn't necessarily on my radar, but it is something we had talked about possibly having in the future. Our guest reached out and said, boom, let's do it. So today we are going to talk about your top four women or ladies in rock and roll. And I think it's really key that we explain rock and roll, Andy. And so, Andy, drop it on them. Let them know what we're talking about rock and roll.
Yeah. So, hey, before I do that, though, real quick, I do want to do a real quick shout out. He is not currently in the chat, at least maybe view him, but not in the chat currently as of right now. But when we were at RetroCon, we met these awesome people. We've given them a shout out. You bought a shirt from them, Booties Apparel, super cool stuff. And I just want to give them a shout out. I entered a contest, and your boy won some stickers. Look, so they custom made me some Triforce holographic stickers, which are pretty sweet, man. I thought I was getting one. They sent me two. They also sent me their, I don't know if you can see this on there, but their little Booties Apparel sticker here.
Dude, yeah, they had a cool booth. They had all kinds of like t-shirts that they were making. I got me a nice, sweet Final Fantasy shirt. And then they had like coasters and other things that were 3D printed. Fantastic stuff. Spine Ticks in the house. Hey, Sith Lordly, he runs a fantastic Saturday night live on YouTube. Dude's killing the shorts game. He's all out there doing all kinds of stuff. He is dude, on his live, there's about 100 people every Saturday night. Amazing. Go check that out at Spine Ticks. Man, come over, be a part of the family, especially if you're a creator. Let's go. Get on over there. But welcome to the show. Hey, but we got some stuff. What is rock and roll music?
Yeah. So here's the deal. Ladies, this is not just ladies, at least for me. Now, I know we've kind of talked about this. Again, Mellow Dope's in the house. I heard there's a party going. There is a party going on. Hang out with us tonight. Yeah. But rock, I'm going to stick personally to the idea of rock in the sense of there's instruments, there's instrumentation that's happening in the music. There's all kinds of amazing, that stuff that's happening. Here's the deal. And I'm going to put somebody now, she may make y'all's list and I'm cool with that. It's fine. This is again, getting into my own personal criteria, but there's a lady like Madonna, right? Who is considered, I think she's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I'm not considering her a lady of rock.
She's right? There's more pop.
But here's the deal: rock can have pop elements for sure, but I don't.
Absolutely, I don't blend over. She can definitely blend over. Yeah. She probably has a song or two.
Some songs that are rocking, right? But overall, I'm going to classify her in that area, right? And I think there's even like, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm probably wrong, but somebody like Missy Elliott is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Like that's not rock, right? Right. She may not be. But that idea.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy. You know more about the music side of things. I don't necessarily think the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame fits the rock and roll criteria.
I think it originally did, but they've welcomed everyone.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit more open arms with just musicians and in general at one level or another. Because I was kind of going through that, kind of thinking that might be a part of my criteria. And I was like, I don't think I can lean this way because there's a lot of things against kind of what I was thinking. So I'll just say this. It ought to be an interesting show. As you guys know, I lean a little earlier than Andy. And Andy, I kind of thought he might pick the same person 4 times in a row because he absolutely loves her to death. Hey, let's jump into this thing. Let's jump into the show and introduce our guest. And welcome to the show, our new friend. So it's time for your Rushmore of women or ladies in rock and roll. Let's get it.
Explosions.
Well, as you guys come on in, it is time to introduce our guest host for the day. And man, let me tell you, let me just give him a little bit of an introduction. I don't know. This is the very first time I've met him via sound. We've been typing, but I've watched some things online about him. And you guys know that Andy and I are both youth ministers, right? We're in the youth ministry game. We're both teachers. And we want to extend the Rushmore Show past that to actually make a difference. I mean, what are we actually doing this for? Is it just to hang out and have fun? So we started searching around. Just like last week, we had Pop Culture Pastor. And in a few weeks, we've got Next Gen Nerd. And we've got a couple other people that we're reaching out to, hopefully in the big game. But we've had Hector Mirai in the past. We have lots of pastors and friends. We were looking for other Christian creators just to help kind of spark the thing and see what's going on. And we come across a guy out in, was it Kentucky, Indiana? He's out there every time at these cons just preaching to the convention. And man, he had sparked something in us and we're like, man, we could maybe do that. That's kind of cool. And he was on the news. And I reach out to him and because I see him at the summit. There was a summit of all these nerdy Christian creators that came together by Love Thy Nerd, and it was over in Texas. And I see him in the chat. And I'm like, man, that's the guy. That's the guy. And so I reach out. We connected. Man, find out that he's a nerd. He's a geek. But he is super well-rounded. And I think you guys are going to love him today. We're going to welcome our friend, the rocket scientist, literally. We're going to welcome Dave Mattingly to the show. Welcome, Dave. Man, so let's just say
great
this.
to be here,
Dave,
fellas.
you are now a part of the family, but I want to share just a little bit about kind of what I was talking about. You are part of the Gamers Guild or something. What's the name of it? The guild?
Christian Gamers Guild. Christian Gamers Guild.
Yeah, the Christian Gamers Guild. And you're over at cons preaching. But from what I gather, you know, in our little social media post, I said another geeky pastor. You, from what I'm gathering, don't consider yourself as much, right? But you got other titles that you carry along. So tell the world here, all 5 of them that are in town right now, and anybody else that's going to watch, what's this thing all about that you're doing at the conventions?
Sure. Well, like I say, I am not a pastor. I do sometimes preach. I do sometimes lead the music when I'm setting something up if there's nobody better around to do it. Like I'm a man of unclean lips from a people of unclean lips. And, I thought somebody should do something. I realized, well, I'm somebody. So I guess I can do it until somebody better comes along. I have no training, no ordination. I consider myself a rogue operative for the Lord, out there doing what needs to be done with no authority whatsoever, besides the guts to stand up and do what I think I should do.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Crazy. Now, look, I'll just say this. I was super nervous. So I'm always nervous to speak for the first time, right? But I was super nervous to even act to speak. Tell me about you coming off, no training, no anything. How did the first interaction with the convention go? Hey, I'd like to do this. And like, they had to look at you like, are you serious? What are you talking about? What was this?
The first time I preached a sermon at a convention. It was also a first-year convention. And they had room for the exhibitors and the games and the costumes, contests, that stuff like that. They didn't really think about having a whole lot of seminars and panel discussions, being a first-year one. So on Sunday morning, the only place available for me to preach was the hotel bar. And there had been a burlesque act the night before. So behind me, there was a big glittery sign that said "Deadly Sins." And there were, undergarments kind of strewn around. So it was fun.
I love
That's the place to preach, man. That's where you need to preach. I love it.
Why not?
That's so good.
I love that.
That's
so
good.
And apart from that, I do preach at sci-fi conventions.
Later. But there's space online where you can go and see some of the sermons he's preached and kind of follow along with some of the stuff. He sent them over to us. And man, I've been going through it and just kind of picking through the comb, watched a couple videos, saw a couple things that he was on. And man, I'm excited. But look, tell him so what is your actual background? Like, you really are a rocket scientist.
Well, I was a teenage rocket scientist at NASA working on the space shuttle program back in the 80s. At the same time, I was also a radio DJ named New Wave Dave. I did that for 7 years, ran mostly a comedy radio show with some new wave and punk thrown in. Did that while I was in college getting my engineering degree, but minoring in psychology and philosophy. Wanted to figure out how the world worked and how the brains worked and the digital world and the world behind the world philosophically. Retro card, hey buddy. From there, I never really was a writer in college, but I started, growing up and in high school, but then in college, I started getting into it and eventually founded a publishing company and ran that for a long time, published several hundred books. When I wasn't doing that, I decided to get into improv comedy. And I've been on stage with Drew Carey and his folks. I grew up an artist before I switched to math and tech. I make my own costumes, into cybersecurity and hacking stuff. And on Facebook, I do post a daily song challenge. Started off as the 1 year song challenge, but then I keep on going. And I made it a 10-year, 365-day song challenge. And we're up in the 2000s-ish. So we're more than halfway through. And most importantly, I am also a newlywed in January.
I saw that.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're very happy.
That's awesome.
Well, I hope
That's
so,
awesome.
since it's only in January. That'd be a pretty rocky start.
Yeah.
Man. Well, look, we are excited to have you. They got some folks talking in the chat. We're going to get ready to get started. So this is what we're going to do. You're going to give your criteria. You're going to say why you were thinking these ladies. Here's the deal. If this is your first time here, welcome to the show. We give a criteria, and everybody's is specific to you. So if you think the top 4 are these 4 people, we probably think otherwise. And that's because we feel the Rushmore should be subjective to your experiences and who you are. So tell us what you were thinking, and then we're going to start our show.
Yeah, I was kind of tripped up at first, thinking I was coming up with the Rushmore instead of my Rushmore.
Yep.
But then I realized it's the ones that are the most important to me. Lady in Rock, I figured being rock, they have to be counterculture, have to stand against something or fight against something, have to be a trendsetter or at least go against what the rest of the world is doing. Generally upbeat rather than slower. It did include, blues or artists like that, but mainly that they were highly influential in my own life was the reason that I picked using my criteria.
I love that.
Fantastic criteria. He's looking a little deeper than I am, Andy. I'm interested to where we're going. So this is what we're gonna do. This is your Rosie. Rosie is Roosevelt. He's number 4 on our mountain, and it's your turn to kick this thing off. Let's see who Rosie is. Whoop, add to the stage. Sorry. So
it's all good.
You're up, man.
All right, my Rosie is she. I didn't know this for a long time, but she actually sang the theme song for Pee-wee's Playhouse that I loved. I watched that in college and still watch the reruns afterwards. She's from New Jersey. She has some funny songs, some fast songs, some slow, poignant dance songs. And she is so unusual. My Rosie is Cyndi Lauper.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Great pick, man. Tell us about Cyndi Lauper. What? I mean, obviously, you just talked about some things you love about her, some awesome factoids. But you grew up. You're a fan of Cyndi Lauper, right?
Yes. And to be honest, I kind of debated my Rosie. There were a couple that were almost the Rosie, but in the end, I decided to go Cyndi, and not just because she's a redhead some of the time.
I love that.
Well, I'll say this: I love Cyndi Lauper, and what a way to start off the show. Girls just want to have fun, right? But I love Cyndi Lauper. I remember back in the day. I mean, in the '80s, I love Pee Wee's Playhouse as well, and the whole scene. Cyndi Lauper is right in the center of it. I mean, she probably didn't have 100 hits, but every one of them, you immediately go back to her crazy hair, her dancing, and whatnot. Now, I'm interested to hear, Andy. Is this rock enough for you? Is this where we're going?
I will accept this. I believe that Cyndi Lauper was okay. So, Dave, you said it. I think this was a perfect descriptor of her as trendsetter. She started this. There's a lot of more contemporary ones, two of which will be on my list that I believe got quite a bit of inspiration that can trace back to Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper to me was again, I mentioned Madonna, that kind of person. She's not going to be on my list. She was more, and again, it was pop, right? There is going to be bleed over between, it's the 80s, right? Pop rock, it was all kind of one thing, right? But I would say that she's probably a little bit more to the rock side of things. So for sure, I mean, there's so many just good songs that she put out there, and it's one of those ones too where it's like you come across these songs and you're like, oh, that's Cyndi Lauper. Oh, that's Cyndi Lauper too. Oh, that's Cyndi Lauper. Just a lot of good ones. So I like this pick, man. And the Goonies are good enough. The Goonies are good enough.
They're good enough for me. Yeah.
There's a great song.
Goonies, the Goonies show their true colors time after time, all through the night.
There you go. And they just want to have.
So last week I had Goonies Never Say Die, man, on my on my little thing down there. Yeah, I love the Goonies, but yeah, that is a fantastic pick. I love the way we're going. I love the way we're starting. How's the chat feel about Cyndi Lauper? Anybody out there loves Cyndi?
There's a lot of people, and I love this. Like Blocky Kid is in here, just stopping by to say hi. What's up, Blocky Kid? I'm trying to catch back where we were. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that are just talking about theirs. Oh, look, here you go, Zach. Cyndi Lauper also was in WrestleMania. She is a legend.
Yep.
We know we're going to count that as
wrestling fame. So here,
look at this. Check it out.
I brought a ringer. Yeah,
a fantastic husband, dad, and grandfather. Look at it.
You got a fan, man! Well, congratulations for the big catch, right?
She's gonna make me blush.
Oh, so yeah, let's jump in, man, to mine. I'll just get in there and kind of chat up for you.
Oh,
and there we go. And so I'll let me just start this out. It is widely known. I tell Andy, I've told my wife, I told family, when I am typically turning the radio on, talking to Spotify, talking to the Echo Dot and getting Spotify, getting all these different things. Wherever I go to get my music, I typically do not put female artists on. And it's not because I don't think they're fantastic. It just isn't one of those things that I lean towards. I'd much rather listen to a male vocalist. And we talked about that back in Vocalists, right? And there's some fantastic, I mean, I'm not going to ever go against some of these as being just fantastic artists. I'm terrible at singing. But if I'm going to choose, between a rock song, I will almost indefinitely go to someone, headlined by a male vocalist. So when I go back and I think about it, I'm looking at the nostalgic side of things, where there are things that that I remember or anything of that nature. And I'm going to tell you, I'm typically an '80s guy. I'm typically an '80s guy, and I might shock you guys today. I might shock you, Andy, a little bit. So here's where I'm going. I'm going to go Rosie, and I'm going to come in with my only '80s pick of the day, and I think it's going to kind of surround the whole thing and kind of bring in what I feel are all the '80s. And even late '70s. I mean, really, and she even bled into the '90s. I mean, she started early '70s, kind of went. She's got a big fingerprint, if you will. But most of the things that I can think of, late '70s, early '80s, and they've just impacted and changed time. I am going with the lead singer from Heart, Ann Wilson. And
Nice.
I think she could probably be a George on many people, and being number one. But when I encompass all of the '80s, I mean, you brought up Cyndi Lauper. To me, it wasn't as rock as I wanted it to be. You mentioned Madonna earlier. It wasn't as rock as I wanted it to be. But this kind of just encompasses it all. And I'm just going right there and saying, hey, Barracuda. I mean, there's so many. She has so many hits, and it's not even funny. Magic Man, Crazy on You. But yeah, her and her sister, yeah. So they broke a lot of new ground. Back then, this wasn't really seen, and I just love her voice. I can pick it out of. I mean, we used to listen to this in the bar all the time before BC, before Christ. I love Heart, and I heart. So it's a great band, and it's I think a great way for me to kick off my list.
I approve of this pick. If again, when did I say this? When we talked about when we did soundtracks last week, I said if you went way back, you could see that we used to try to do a couple TikToks and be relevant. And I did one that was guilty pleasure love songs, and Alone is up there. It's so good. It's such a good song. But dude, these dreams. I mean, like so many good singers, man. Crazy on You,
so
like you said,
like her top five is what I found. Barracuda, Magic Man, Crazy on You, which is what Dave put in the comments, and These Dreams and Alone. Those are the top. That's her top five, I guess, kind of in the library. But there's so many other good stuff. I love her voice.
And you could make the case, and potentially today, we're gonna hear about some non-vocalists potentially. Again, we didn't say it had to be vocalists. Criteria-wise, we made it that way.
She's
but
a guitarist too.
Nancy Wilson. Yeah, you got Nancy and Ann Wilson are just both amazing in their own right. So, good stuff. Good stuff.
And
Dave, you like
Wilson. So Ann's got the powerful vocals, Nancy guitar prowess. Yeah. And they're both in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, they're the beast.
For sure.
And that's just how I'm going to start that.
You turned into the artist formerly known as Kirk. You turned into a symbol. But Dave, while we're waiting for him to join us back, that's the joy of live.
Yeah.
You a fan of Heart? You like Heart?
Oh yeah. To give my almost Rushmore, that they were my Rosie before Cyndi.
Could have been. Yeah, and that's the thing. So you mentioned that in your Rosie, where it's like that's the hardest pick because that means you're eliminating them, right? It's kind of like the gatekeeper, if you will. So let me catch up with a couple of these real quick before we get in mine. Lady Sith is singing These Dreams as she should be because it's a fantastic song. National Parks Princess said, "So am I." Yep. Everybody, right now, please record a clip and send it to me tomorrow. There you go. Fun stuff. All right, so Heart, fantastic pick. Let me get into mine.
Get into it.
So I am going to be the resident younger gentleman who's here tonight, as I usually am. And I'm going to, 35, so I kind of stick to that 90s, 2000s generally is kind of my wheelhouse when it comes to that. Now, I appreciate and I love 80s music. I love 70s music. I mean, heck, Kiss was what got me into music, right? I've got a tattoo of Gene Simmons on me. So I love music from all genres and all eras and everything, you go way back. But for tonight, when I'm thinking of female vocalists, or I'm sorry, ladies in rock, I couldn't escape 90s and 2000s. A lot of these are just, I didn't really think about it as much in criteria as I just liked these, right? Because like you, Kirk, I'm not typically going to those things. I think part of it, and I don't really have shame in it, I think part of it is like if I'm singing along to a song, the lyrics for the most part, when ladies are singing rock, it's like singing to a dude, so it just sounds weird for me to sing it. So maybe that's why I don't connect. But with that said, these four, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm belting these songs out because they're just that good. So it is, it goes with voice is a big part of the criteria. Obviously, I did pick all vocalists. I know that I said potentially we may not have to, but it's voice. It's kind of along your lines, Dave, of like that trendsetter, but this person just stood out. There's so many, male and female, who just kind of like fit into whatever, and you just like, did they sing for this? Did they do this? I don't know, like whatever. But these ones, for whatever reason, just stood out to me. So I'm gonna start my list, and I'm going back to the 2000s, way back to the early mid 2000s, and this is not going to be. I'm not afraid of any of. I don't think I'm Rushmoreing anywhere. Although, Kirk, you did say that was your only 80s pick, so I'm kind of like, where are we going? But my Rosie, my number 4, she sang tremendously. Just has an amazing, great vocals. A lot of her lyrics are just well written poetry. I'm going Evanescence's Amy Lee. Amy Lee is going to be my pick. She's fantastic, man. Okay, so we're going to talk about Bring Me to Life, right? Was just like, again, what was that? 04, 03, somewhere around that time. This song comes out, and I'm like, man, this is what we need. Spine Tick, sorry, I don't agree with that pick. Courtney Love Hole. But anyway, so some of those may be on there. But Amy Lee, yeah. So you come out with that. You've got just that whole album is just fantastic. Her vocals are crazy. The fact that she can be, not that she's like an opera singer, but she's got just amazing pipes, and she just like this like heavy rock music too is just fantastic. Then she had the song with Seether, because I'm broken and whatever, and just is a great ballad there. There's, I don't know, I could just go on for a while, but Amy Lee, Evanescence, wheelhouse of time there, where I was kind of like in that rock scene and everything. I've always been in the rock scene, but this was just one of those staples that I was definitely listening to. And final note I'll add is that that song, Bring Me to Life, I believe, and I'm going to fact check myself real quick while I'm doing this, was on the Freddie vs. Jason soundtrack. Question mark. It was on a soundtrack for sure. No, it was on. Dang, what was it on? Now I'm not gonna remember what it was. I think it was like Electra or something like that. It was on some soundtrack that was really good. But I'm gonna Google that, and we'll find that out right now. Maybe the chat can help me out. But that's my pick. I'm gonna go with Amy Lee from Evanescence. We lost Dave for a second. Here we go. We got him back in there. He's back.
Gotcha.
Bring him to
Daredevil.
Yep. Daredevil. That's it. That's it. That was the soundtrack. Yes. Yeah.
Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck.
It was on Daredevil. Here, look, let me just say this. This was vying for number. Okay, so my next pick, and 5 and 6 were all kind of jostling around trying to figure out which one I wanted. This Amy Lee was one of those 3. Here's the big reason I didn't put her where I wanted her. The main song is the Bring Me Back to Life. There is other great things, and I really had to think hard to try and figure them out. And I never owned any of her albums, so I never really played anything extra. I just knew kind of the big hits. I will say this though, back in what was that, early 2000s? I'm early 20s. I was madly in love with her. I mean, like, honestly, I mean, like,
yeah.
And that's going to be a running theme, I think, for the rest of the day. But yeah, I mean, I thought she was incredibly different, like than all the other ones that we kind of picked, and because her voice range was so wild,
yeah,
and it was, and when I heard it, and then I saw her, I was like, oh, she's the one. I didn't like. I'm just going to
say this.
Translate.
Yes, Bring Me to Life is the big hit for sure. Absolutely. They had other great hits.
Oh, no, they had tons of great hits. But when I was first trying to think of it, I had to kind of like, and I went and played and I started listening. I was like, oh, that's a great song. That's a great song.
What I'm saying. If you go back and you listen to that album, it's almost an unskippable album. It's so good. Those like Tourniquet.
I just didn't own it for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's a good one. And also, that was my time where I was going, and I've repented. This is BC, right? So I would go to Books A Million, and we would go to the back where they had all like the hit paraders and Metal Injection magazine.
Oh, rip all the papers out. Yeah.
Rip all the papers out. And so I had a couple pictures of Amy Lee probably hung up on my wall.
Who didn't do that? Yeah.
Dave, I saw you put in the comments you like that. Did you care for the pick? Was Amy Lee Evanescence?
Oh, very strong. Yes.
Yeah. Her vocals are wild, man. Yeah. Anyway, that's our first round.
Daredevil gets a lot of heat, but its soundtrack was fire.
That was the only good thing about the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that, but I remember that this was on there. Yeah, it's a good soundtrack. So anyway, we're done with our first round. That is a fantastic showing for our.
That's a good start.
Rosies.
So we've got Cyndi Lauper, we got Amy Lee, and and we've got Ann Wilson. So that's our first round. You're now up, Dave, and now this time we don't need criteria. Kind of just jump on in and let's talk. We call this guy TJ Jazzy Jeff. I don't think Fresh Prince is available for picking today, but you're up.
No.
All right. My TJ, my number 3. They are considered the godmothers of outsider music. Frank Zappa called them better than the Beatles. Their album was on Kurt Cobain's top 10 list. Going back to the 60s, my TJ is The Shags. I assume neither of you has ever heard of The Shags. They are a group of sisters. Yes, a group of sisters, generally considered to be the worst band in history. But they had a huge influence. They left a large footprint. They were given instruments with no training, no rhythm, and told to write their songs and play their music because they're going to record right away. And they did. And you can tell that none of them had played before or sung before or had any kind of sense of timing or scales or anything. But they have enthusiasm to spare. They have a lot of fun, and they're very weird. They're sort of an acquired taste. When you get the chance, I recommend listening to their song My Pal Foot Foot, about a lost pet of some sort.
Yeah, well, I'm not wasting any time right here, Dave. I'm going right to My Pal Foot Foot. I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm a foot in it. Yeah. Wowzers. Listen to this drum bank. I should have had her on my my Rushmore of drummers. Now.
This sounds like band practice. This sounds like my house when we were practicing before I knew how to play any. before I knew what I
But
was.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Does
but the
anybody
Shags
in the
inspire
chat
me.
know the Shags? My pal Foot. Dude,
I
Dave,
love
that is
this
a
pick. I
fantastic
love
pick.
this pick. Though. I do love this pick
I
because
love the fact that you that you brought out the Kurt Cobain part, and when I pulled them up, it said Kurt Cobain's favorite band. That's the first thing it said.
Yep.
So, man,
I can see
they inspire me.
Yeah, I could see like if I squint a little
they're
bit, like
definitely
how
pioneers.
this influenced a Nirvana or like it has some influence in like this kind of grungy, anti-establishment.
Yep.
Like, we're supposed to be polished and good, but we're gonna do whatever. So I can get that. I can get that. I can see why Kurt Cobain listed this in probably his top 10, and why Frank Zappa says it's the best one.
Yeah, they're better than the Beatles, according to Zappa.
Well, Zappa, if Zappa says it, then we should abide by it.
That's got to be true. He would never lie to us.
All right, the Shags. I don't know, nobody in the what we're talking in the comments.
I have nothing except for that little My Pal Foot I just listened to.
Yeah.
I love it.
All right, man. So let me good. What I love about the Rushmore Show is, and why we bring people in from all over, is it's your flavor, man. It's what you got.
Yeah.
And I would have never, thank you to the 5 that are hanging out here. You guys have now just been introduced to one of the greatest bands of all time that you never heard of. So, I mean, that's what Kurt Cobain
one of the greatest worst bands you've ever heard of. Yeah.
The best worst band.
So, so here, I'm going to jump in, and I'm going with the band. I owned this album. Actually, I owned a couple of their albums. And I actually saw it in the chat, but I'm going with my Irish girl. I'm going with Dolores O'Riordan, and I'm going with the Cranberries. I'm going with the Cranberries, and man, I played the heck out of the Linger album, and Zombie and all of that. I loved her voice. I was mesmerized by that album. I would have it on repeat, and ironically, I don't know. Sometimes you get in these weird moods where you're like, I remember this kind of being around that. I just kind of remember having CDs and always kind of playing that CD, and when that one was over, going to something like Rage Against the Machine, and it was just that time of my life. Like I really loved that style of music, and it had a lot of influence in kind of what I liked in the future. But I love this album. So I was kind of pulling it up. They're from Limerick, in Ireland, and I was reminded. One of the reasons I was like, man, why did they do more? Was that she passed away kind of untimely, and so which that was about 6 or 7 years ago, back in 2018. But they were so their brand kind of. Their mix, alternative rock, post-punk, indie pop. That's kind of where I found of what they were kind of in. But they were kind of in that emo-ish rock. I mean, like they were good. I love them. So, and Andy, I'm pretty sure you love them too. Might be one of your picks today. Not sure, but this is where I'm going.
You took it off of my Benjamins, which is why I was upset. Yeah. Because I already had a limited number of Benjamins. So, but yeah, for everything you said, great pick. Dreams is probably, Zombies is where everyone's going to go, right? But I think Dreams is probably their best song, or at least my favorite. So
Linger, Dreams, Zombie are their 3 big dogs. Everybody else is doing it. So why can't we? They had a lot of, I just loved their sound. I loved who they were. And Dolores was awesome. So.
Yeah, for me, it's Dreams and Salvation. Loved them both.
Yeah, Salvation's a great one too. Yeah, so they have really good songs. But I'll say this: there's a comedian, and this is what I say every single time that we talk about the Cranberries. There's a comedian who said, and I like the Cranberries, but there's kind of a general knock that they're, I guess Nobody really talks about them. But he said that the Cranberries actually have the perfect band name because much like the Fruit, I really only want them once a year.
Yes.
Which,
Hey, look at
again,
this. Spine Ticks is going to show it off if we come in tomorrow night. So hopefully we see that.
What time is your live, man? I'll hop on in.
He's got a late live, man. Well, because he's on the other side of the world. We're on the East Coast. He's on the West. So
I'm Central, so maybe I got at least an hour there. But
yeah, I'm usually crashing about the middle of it, and he's still got another hour or two yet to go. Yeah, and I stay up late, so
8 p.m. Pacific. So that makes it? Gosh, 10 here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and then look, he shouts out the 100 people on there first. So you come and meet the family, the Spine Ticks family.
Now read the chat. So really 9 p.m. So yeah. I love you, Spine Ticks. I'm gonna try. I'll tell you that much. It becomes real late for a.
I love this. Check this out. So Andy, how many of these do you have around?
So funny story. I actually recently was looking, and I have quite a bit of old ticket stubs. In fact, I have a ticket stub. This was kind of like one of those cool things. In a couple of weeks, we're gonna have Broke the Nightmare on, the metal band I was in. We played a show at the Howlin' Wolf on the South Shore, and they actually sold tickets to this one. So I have a ticket stub with Invoke the Nightmare on it, which I've kept that because it was just. I don't know. It's kind of one of those cool things. They don't do ticket. You buy everything online now. I mean, you don't even have to. It's all on your app, so you don't have that ticket stub kind of feeling.
I have a few tickets somewhere hidden, but I have the Prince ticket for sure somewhere, and then I have. I think I have my Disturbed ticket somewhere, and
I've got a couple Kiss tickets, so I know that. Yeah,
I never got to see Prince. I really wish I had that chance.
Yeah.
So.
Oh
man, do you have that Rush ticket?
Do I have the Rush ticket? Probably. With Rush
that's
40.
The one that everybody. Andy got to go to Rush right before the not untimely.
A couple years before Neil Peart passed. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was their 40th anniversary tour. So.
Hey, it looks like I got a student up in here. Michael in the house. Miss Jalia. What's up, Michael? Welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the show. We're talking about ladies in rock. I don't know if you know much about that, Michael, but
right.
Hey, you're up, Andy.
Well, here's the deal. It's really hard for me to work these comments, and I've got a cup of water over here. I've only got one hand because I've got one hand in my pocket, and the other one's giving a peace sign. We're going Alanis Morissette. Whoa, what happened with the balloons? I don't know how that happened.
You figured out how to do one of those again.
These happen randomly. I think StreamYard makes things happen. Here's the deal. Alanis Morissette is going to be my TJ Jazzy Jeff. We want to talk about 90s kind of like angsty, like powerful woman who just is like, she was brash and everything, but just put out solid hits, right? I just, all of her songs, man, so good. My wife is a big fan of Alanis Morissette. She was very much unique, kind of like in that genre, in that time. Ironic, You Ought to Know, Hand in My Pocket, Thank You, Head Over Feet. One of my favorite songs by her is Uninvited. Uninvited is just such an epic hit. But man, just so many, so many great songs. Such a kind of some iconic music videos too. She was out during that time. The one I think, was it Ironic, where it's like her, but like 4 different ones of her in a car, or maybe it's Hand in Pocket. I don't know. It's one of those songs.
The one where she's like riding in the car in the back of it?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And it's her, like 4 different versions of her.
Yeah,
that's ironic.
Isn't that ironic?
Hey, you ought to know, right? You ought to know that she actually dated Dave Coulier.
Yeah.
From Full House fame. I mean, like, come on.
Apparently, that song is about him, which makes it even crazier.
And look, and Zach mentioned it here. She's a Canardian. We've had a few Canardians
There
on
you
here.
go.
Some Canucks.
Yeah, man.
Yep. We've
The other
had
thing I'll say this too,
two
real quick,
Canadians
is
on the
is
floor.
that
Yep.
Taylor Hawkins was her drummer. So R.I.P. Taylor
That's
Hawkins.
right. R.I.P. Foo
Foo
Fighters. You had him on your show for the drummers, Taylor Hawkins. Yeah, and that happened like right before we did the show. That album was fantastic, and it is about him. So National Park.
Yeah, which makes the song even crazier now when you listen to it, putting a face.
Isn't it
to
ironic? Don't you think? Yeah.
Which the lyrics to Ironic, the only thing I have against this is that, and maybe why she's not higher on the list.
Oh, we've talked about this. We've talked about this.
Those things are not irony, right? Like, so raining on your wedding day, that's not irony.
That's bad luck.
Well, some people say good luck, right? But regardless of what it is, it's not irony.
It might be irony if you were a weatherman, you know.
And that's the thing. Like,
yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah,
We've talked about that. We've talked about that.
For sure. Irony would be like your house burning down with a stress relief candle, right? Like that's, you know what I mean? Not a free ride that you already paid. No, that's a scam. That's not irony.
It's like a tow truck getting a flat tire. You know.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Hey, that's irony. The other ones are not. But anyway, it's still a good song though. Regardless, I think she had a
peace
beef.
sign.
She had a beef with Kurt Loder of MTV News back because in an interview he brought that up. Go look it up. YouTube it. It's so funny.
Kurt Loder, man, deep cut. That's Kurt when there Loder. Actually was cool VJs. Speaking of that, go back. We did an MTV video Rushmore, and that one was fantastic. What's your top 4 videos ever played on MTV? We talked about Kurt Loder for sure. Yeah. Speaking of Full House, Lori Loughlin went to a few of my gigs in the 90s. Talking about nice. Teenage crush, or not even teenage crush, like maybe like early 20s crush. Dude, I love yeah. When MTV was watchable.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree, Zach. I agree. We're old, and that's when MTV, the M actually stood for music. So, what's up, Mike? I see you, man. I see you. So, it is time for our break. We're halfway through the mountain. And it's been a fantastic time so far. And I just want to shout out a few people. And Andy, I think probably today we should just shout out. We should probably shout out one of our friends at Culture Box because and pray for him. I think that'd be a good idea. So I would love to pray for our friends at Culture Box. But here, let me share this. Culture Box is probably coming. If you look down below right here, I'm seeing Twitter, Discord. Guys, go join the Discord. We do all kinds of stuff in the Discord. We're trying to blow that thing up, but there it is, Culture Box. Guys, Culture Box is like-minded content creators. They're all Christian, and they all are out here trying to just make a difference with just what little bit that we do. And they actually are a lot of inspiration for us. Our friends over at Geek Devotions was one of the first ones I met, introduced me to Retro Rewind podcast, and now we have a whole little family over there. We get a little chat. We kind of chat. And look, if you guys would, humor us or entertain us, our friends are got a little bit going on. So I just want to pray for them. That would be what I think is fantastic to do for those guys, and that's what we do. And so, if you guys don't mind, I just want to shout that out. Lord, we just come before you right in the middle of the service, man, right in the middle of this thing, and just say, man, help our friends that are struggling through whatever they're going through, because they have a fantastic mission and a plan to change everybody's life. And Lord, we just thank you for those guys, because we want them to be as healthy as could be so that they can impact people. And Lord, thank you for allowing us to meet them in Jesus' name. Hey, Andy, who do you want to shout out today?
Well, hey, should we shout out Retro Rewind again? Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do Retro Rewind.
Yeah.
Pull it up. So, and while you get that up, let me tell you about Reboot. Guys, we're going into this new place in our life where Reboot is going to change. It's going to change our way of seeing what we're doing, and it's because of inspiration like my friend Dave here that we've connected with. Pop culture pastor from last week they have joined the team. You're the first to hear. They have joined the team. They're going to come a part of this Reboot thing. But we're building a Christian creator collective. That's kind of coalition, if you will. And we're bringing these guys together just to impact some people. And we're doing it through nerdy and geeky sermons, places like conventions, here online. Welcome to the family. You guys will have all that content right at your fingertips if you keep here on our main page. I've started it. You can see our first one, which was Five Nights at Freddy's from the last convention, because that's what the convention was all about. And they've announced that Five Nights at Freddy's is going to be the next one. And Andy just told me he's done with his one for April 20th, which there's going to be some Ninja Turtle artists. There's going to be Sergeant Slaughter is going to be there. Ming from Comic Book Men. It's going to be a fantastic time. You're going to see all those guys on our show, hopefully, because we're going to get a chance to interview them. But let's tell them what Reboot is. Coming to a convention near you.
Prepare to make the jump to light speed.
They're getting closer.
Oh yeah? Watch this.
There it is.
It's the unconventional ministry reboot. And if you guys know anything about being a Christian, you have to have a reboot. You have to have a restart. You have to have a rebirth. And that's what we're doing, man. We're just going to come and try to bring the word, high five some people, love on some folks that God told me to reach: the abandoned, the afflicted, the addicted, the alone. One of the best places to find them is at a convention. So that's what we're doing, and that's where we're at. And I'm glad to have friends like Dave to kind of like rub shoulders with. And I appreciate Dave being here. Hey, let's talk about Retro Rewind and get to the rest of this mountain.
Let's do it. All right. So our friends at Retro Rewind Podcast, every other week, join the Retro Rewind Pod as they travel back 15 or more years along the entertainment space-time continuum in their mission to review movies and games, establishing what is still worth your time today. Expect fun banter and trivial insights from Francisco, Paul, and rotating guest hosts who are all out of time. I say this every time we shout them out. The fact that 15 years is retro. 15 years ago today was the year 2009 is retro. Just let it sink in. Makes everyone feel older than they already are. Real quick, before we get into the rest of ours, you got a student of yours asking for a shout out. I believe you should in the comments here.
Which one? We got another student?
I think this is the same one who's on here, but just asking for a shout out.
Mike, dude, I saw you the first time. Are you not listening? Michael
Mike
from
Jones?
his jolliest class. Welcome to the show, man. Tell everybody we're on. Bring him to life. So yeah, love Mike. Mike's an awesome student. He's a really good kid. Mike, hang around with us. You might learn something about the 80s and 90s here. So, Dave, You're up. We're at Link, right? And Link is short for Lincoln. We consider him the second most important guy on the mountain for many reasons. But tell us who your second most important woman in rock is. And I don't know if you can beat the last one. I just don't know.
There's no one that can really compete with the Shags in their own category of strangeness and making the bad good. I'm going with some gals that are a lot of fun to listen to. They really changed the face of rock and pop when they got moving. And I may or may not have had a crush on Jane Wiedlin for a while. I'm talking about the Go-Go's. They got the beat. I am head over heels on a vacation because my lips are sealed.
I love a great pun. Dude, the Go-Go's are on my short list of Benjamins. And so I have about 15 that I'm kind of looking at, and the Go-Go's are there because, man, you just named all the great ones and put it together in a nice little bow. They are the 80s. Oh my gosh. I mean, like, I love it to death. And I couldn't go this whole night without mentioning them and another couple 80s bands, which I have kind of nestled away for the Benjamins. But yeah, I love it. That's a great pick. Andy, what you know about the Go-Go's?
Well, a vacation is all I ever wanted. So, I mean, I agree. This is
got to get away.
No, yeah, no. This is a good pick, man. So this.
Hey. So look, spine
Let me
ticks.
just. Go ahead.
Spine ticks. I just saw this, bud. Hey, so as we go, I'm the one that does almost all the graphics, and Andy usually does all the editing, unless one of us have a break. So yeah, I run all the social media, and I do all of the graphics that you see anywhere that has to do with Rushmore. That's me. Andy usually is doing all the editing on all the pre-recorded stuff. So there you go to answer that question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So real quick, the Go-Go's, just to let you in on kind of how I grew up. Granted that the Go-Go's are before my time, but my dad was not a Go-Go's fan. My dad was all about like Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth and that stuff in the house. But my mom was all like new wave Go-Go's. She loved NXS. She loved U2.
You too, baby.
Ano, legitimately, I thought growing up was a family member. Like, I mean, he was just that in my house. Kaja Gugu, like just all of Flock of Seagulls, all of these.
You always told me that.
I have to pull up Kaja Gugu because it's one of my favorite band names ever. But
it's fun to say.
So the Go-Go's were a part of that too, as far as like what I grew up listening to and hearing a lot of. So, which I think contributed to
this guy.
Not dang, that's good. Not U2 again. That's funny. That's funny.
In the 80s, actually, I founded the fan club for Men Without Hats, safety dance and such. So I'm all there about the new wave, buddy.
Dude, so that's a fantastic pick, man. I love the Go-Go's. I kind of wanted to have them on. There's just when the Go-Go's were rocking, I was probably like 8 years old, right? And so you would hear it. It's the poppy thing going on in the back. It's the fun stuff. But when I started to formulate my brain and kind of what I liked in music and whatever, kind of steered a little different direction. But I love the 80s. 80s, it is widely known I am an 80s guy. I love everything.
Hey, is this true? Is this true right here? National Parks Princess, they actually started out as a joke band. That's pretty cool. If that's true. Fact check it. But I like that.
We can fact check it, but I'm sure. Oh, that's good. U2 was big for us in high school. Yeah. I got to see them in 92. 92, I was 8th grade. In 92, I went to my first concert, which was, here you go. I've said it before, but if this is your first time here, I went to In Vogue, which is another set of ladies. Vanilla Ice.
Never gonna get it.
Vanilla Ice, headlined by Rocky 5 soundtrack, MC Hammer. There you go. That was my first one back in 1992. Might have been 91, but it was in that same time frame. So, man. Well, I'm going to jump in. And
actually, one more factoid is Our Lips Are Sealed was actually co-written by Jane Weedland, the guitarist, and Terry Hall, the singer for Fun Boy 3. So they both have recordings. You can watch videos of the Go-Go's singing Our Lips Are Sealed and Fun Boy 3 singing Our Lips Are Sealed with the Go-Go's backing up.
Nice. I'll have to look up who Fun Boy 3 is. So there's that.
For them, I recommend The Lunatics Have Taken Over the Asylum. It's kind of my theme song.
All right. Are they better than the Shag or comparable to the Shags?
Everybody is better than the Shags.
Okay, good.
That's what makes them wonderful.
All right. Yeah, we'll check them out. All right, Kirk. So you're up. Your link. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think you ought to know. And ironic, don't you think? They were Rushmoring with Alanis Morissette. Dude, bro, she was so weird and so different, but there was just something. There was something about that whole album. There's something about the Jagged Little Pill. That is another one of those ones, and I didn't want to say it when I was talking about Cranberries. This is another one of those that was kind of in. See, back in the day, Mike, if you're still hanging around here, you didn't know anything about this, but you would have you have to pull out your book and pull out a CD and put it in, unless you were super rich. And when you spent all of your, 6 months worth of pay that you had at McDonald's, and you actually bought a 10-disc CD changer or something like that, It was on the mix whenever Zombie was in, or whenever Cranberries were in, Alanis Morissette was in. It was kind of that vibe, and love I love this. I mean, that's kind of how I knew the Dave Coulier thing. I had looked it up already. I was like, man, who was it that she was dating back in the day? And you know, the Canadian thing, yeah. And so I kind of knew all that. You mentioned all the great albums, but her videos were really good too. She kind of like she went with this like thing where she didn't like. I always thought that she was prettier than she tried to make herself out to be because it was like her shtick, like to try and have like the hippie hair and just kind of like almost try to look homely. I mean, that was kind of her thing. But I was like, man, she really is a lot better looking than that. And I, as you know, as a older teenager, in early 20s, that's one of the things that would have drawn me to them. And she was a fantastic voice. We mentioned it all in the comments. I saw everybody talking about it. Some people went and saw her in concert, had the album. I'm Crushmoreing, our first Crushmore of the day, Alanis Morissette. Middle name Nadine, which is funny because I used to know a Nadine, and man, they couldn't be any more different. But
Yep, obviously I agree with this pick since I already said it. But yeah, just good stuff, man. Good stuff.
One of the big things about her, just throw this out there, last factoid, was that a lot of her influence later after music and whatever, she really became an activist, right? She really got into politics and those things, and she was really fighting for mental health and environment. I mean, that was kind of where she was going, which doesn't surprise me looking at her and knowing kind of what she was doing. But yeah, there you go. Alanis Morissette is my link, my number 2 on the mountain. And Andy, you're probably happy with that, so I didn't steal another one of your Benjis. So
yeah, I don't think the other. I mean, maybe they will. Who knows? But I think I can. I think I'll have 4. I'm hoping I'll have 4. Otherwise, we'll just we'll wing it, you know. But yeah, this is a good pick. Alanis Morissette, love that Canadian.
All right, man, you're up.
Yep, I am up. Okay, so my next 2 picks, these were pretty solid in here. I think that this one, though, out of my 4, would be the one that is potentially, because so prior to filming, I always have a discussion with my wife of like, hey, you know, what would be your top 4 ladies in rock, right? And then, you know, I'll tell her mine. And this was the one that I told her that she said, absolutely not. She wouldn't even be a Benjamin for me. Not because she doesn't like her. She really does. But she doesn't consider it rock. I was more so, I do think this is rock. Now, I will say this. This lady has since gone on to to more pop music, right? And that's kind of happened. But if I'm going to go to the roots, man, and this is what I'm saying. I said earlier, one of the reasons that I don't sing a lot of these songs is because the lyrics are heavy female. I'm Just a Girl. Man, it's a great song. I'm going Gwen Stefani. Gwen Stefani is going to be my pick for my link. Here's the deal. Growing up as a 90s kid, if you know that album, right? What was the Tragic Kingdom or whatever it was, you know, that was just so good. You got Don't Speak, Just a Girl. Then you got other later ones that they did venture into pop, but they were always had like rock elements to it too. It's My Life, Hella Good, Underneath It All, like just fantastic. Sunday Morning is a great song. They have so many good songs. Ex-Girlfriend. Again, I'm just scrolling through these to find these. Spiderwebs is a fantastic song. For whatever reason, Spiderwebs doesn't show up on their top 5 on Spotify, but it's definitely there. So, dude, she's so good. Again, trendsetter. She was doing like push-ups on stage while she's singing ska, reggae, rock, punk music or something, some kind of weird
He was Miley Cyrus before Miley Cyrus.
Yeah. She actually had a song called The Climb, and The Climb was on Tragic Kingdom, but it is not the same as The Climb there. But yeah, so it just is so good. The music is so good, and then her voice is just really good too. It's, you know, when it's Gwen Stefani. And I'll say this, yes, she has gone on to a successful pop music career, being on The Voice. Did she marry Blake Shelton?
Blake Shelton has brought her on the countryside a little bit too.
So she does this, but I'm going to go back to roots and just say this girl was a Southern California, just punk rocker, and she did enough rock for me to consider in rock, enough so to put her at my link. I absolutely loved this. And last thing I'll say is that we're going to talk about going back in the day with CD changers, but what about an answering machine that you had at your house? And I remember one time recording an answering
Ain't no holla back, girl.
No, this was way before then, but it was, I'm sorry I'm not home right now. I'm caught up in the spider web. So leave a message and I'll call you back. That's what I did back in the day on there. So I remember, I think my mom kept it for 5 minutes and then deleted it and re-recorded it. But yeah, Gwen Stefani, going to be my link. Ain't no call back calls. Oh my gosh.
Hey, I'm gonna say this. She's amazing, and she has gone into the pop side quite a bit. Blake Shelton. I was more inclined to think of the Gavin Rossdale days with Bush. Yeah. But I've seen her in concert twice, and one of the times that I saw her, she was a nobody. Like, you didn't even know who they were. No Doubt shows up. You're like, who is this? No Doubt was no doubt a good band. Great pick, man. I love it.
And she's a huge inspiration for my George, which I'll talk about in a little bit, which is probably the worst kept secret.
What you think about Gwen?
Oh, man. Gwen has face pants. So that's all I can say.
That is awesome. I love that. I love that. So, hey, we're at the George, the number one. We used to call him G-Dub, the George. Who is your number one best rocker in history?
Well, in my history. We're not doing all history. This is a personal Rushmore, of course, yes.
In your history.
Yes. Back in high school, on the last day the seniors had to go, which might have been a week before the rest or something like that, they could really get away with a whole bunch. And it was generally called Senior Dress Up Day. People would wear weird clothes, funny clothes, dress like people they liked, or their music or movie heroes, whatever. I buzzed my head and dyed my hair red and went to school in a tux because my number one, my George, is Annie Lennox.
Wow.
Sweet dreams are made of Annie.
Nice.
Sweet dreams are made of these. Oh, wait, that's the wrong Sweet Dreams version. Sorry. That's
yeah, this
is so many amazing songs. Sweet Dreams, Here Comes the Rain Again. Sisters Are Doing It for Themselves. There Must Be an Angel. Missionary Man. I Love to Listen to Beethoven. I Need You. And then on her Medusa solo album, Train in Vain, covering The Clash. Walking on Broken Glass. No More I Love Yous. So many.
Glass. That's a banger right there. That's a good hit.
Fantastic song that I hadn't thought about in a while. Walking on Broken Glass. Man.
I'm interested to see a picture from back in the day of you at Senior Dress Up Day, because that would be.
And I just pulled her up, man. 69. She looks fantastic for 69.
And yeah, she really looks good. Like one of my Rushmores that almost was a number 4, who is not young but still looks amazing. I'll bring her up in a little while.
Nice.
So yeah, Eurythmics, The Tourists, Windsong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Eurythmics were kind of a cool little band, and Annie Lennox was definitely somebody. I remember the videos. She kind of reminded me of like somebody that was in like a makeup commercial or something, like Maybelline or something. Like she had this perfect look. Like her hair was just spot on, and then her voice was just different. It was interesting. I kind of had a feeling that this was going to be on your list today, and yet since you hadn't mentioned her yet, because I was over at your page today and you posted, and man, you got like 90 comments over there, man.
Yep,
but
that's
Annie Lennox was
sort of
your
average for me.
today.
Yep.
So that is fantastic. Andrew, Andy, what do you think about Annie?
No, I like what I just said. You know, this is a "Here Comes the Raining In" is a good song. Like, there's just so many. This is a fantastic pick. Just it almost like just when you see Annie Lennox, it's like there's a statement, obviously fashion wise and the hair and just everything like that, but where you just sense like there's this power and that she has is like she is a true front woman for this group, and you know, it's not like she just kind of like fades back into whatever. But yeah, this is a good pick. It's a good pick, man. Really good pick.
I'm slightly shocked that not shocked. I mean, we just kind of met, so the Shags obviously is a wild card, but Annie Lennox wouldn't have been what I considered top 4. Kind of knowing you're probably a little older than me in the same area, trying to think of who you were going to pick. Annie Lennox, I would think maybe on that 4 spot. So I'm interested what you got left in the tank for the Benjamin. So I'm super interested.
I do have more than 10 years on you.
Yeah. So I'm interested. So, Andy, it's my turn.
Yep, it's to you now.
And Yep, dude. You took my girlfriend, Andy. My girlfriend, dude. When I was a kid, listen, I had one crush, like super crush. And I know I'm kind of going this whole thing this week. And Brittany's gonna watch this, like, man, what the heck? But I remember when Brittany and I first started dating, she asked me this one question. She said, "Who's your celebrity crush?" And I was like, "Oh, no doubt, Wins." Close second. And I remember that she did the Super Bowl when Tampa played the Raiders. When Gruden, that whole deal. And the reason I remember that is because we went to a friend's house. She played the Super Bowl. And like, I was so stoked for the Super Bowl. Like, what's wrong with you? And she came out and she sung, and I was like, this was amazing. It's my favorite day of all time. And they were like, bro, why are you so weird? Right? But I love No Doubt. No Doubt loved it. It's one of my favorite bands all time. And it was the one concrete answer that was immovable today. The other ones were kind of like in and out. And yeah, she is gone. She has leaned towards the pop, the hollaback side, all that kind of stuff. And then now, obviously, like I mentioned, she's with The Voice and married to Blake Shelton. She's starting to do a little country and, you know, duetting with those. But she has a wide range. And I could not have this mountain without her. Tragic Kingdom was a fantastic album. And yeah, I can put that on repeat. Now, rewind. Last thing I'll say, because we've already talked about her, that right next to the Cranberries and next to Alanis Morissette, Tragic Kingdom. I mean, like, these three kind of married each other in those 90s time. And Andy, I kind of figured I'd shock you a little bit living in the 90s for most of the day. But this is my high school. And I remember, like, gosh, I love these albums. So had to have her. Old Gwen Stefani.
Just read this. No Doubt is reuniting at Coachella 2024. Just so you know. Yeah. So that's happening. Not that it's a one-time
we've talked
deal.
about those though. You know, Coachella is like one of those, you know, like big concerts that have like 150 bands, right? And you go there, they play 3 songs, and hopefully you don't miss it because you're over at another place, you know. I've always wanted to go to Coachella. It's one of those ones that are in the top 5 or 6 things talked about in the music world as far as live music. But man, No Doubt coming back. What a great time. I would, if I lived closer and it wasn't probably $1,000 a ticket, because that's usually kind of how those things roll, I'd probably entertain it.
Yeah, it's a one-time thing. It's not like they're getting back or whatever, but I look forward to watching the YouTube videos of their live performance again. I'll just keep it there. But yeah, great pick.
Hey, let's finish this mountain, man.
Yeah.
All right. The worst kept secret, if you've ever watched this show, if you've ever talked to me, he drum rolled so hard he knocked his video out. You've ever once talked to me. Oh, what's happening? What's going on? Okay, I think we're good.
All right.
And if you've noticed, the whole time I'm wearing the T-shirt, I'm going to go Haley Williams from Paramore. Here's the deal. It's my favorite 2000s band. They are unskippable, and I know Kirk, and it's an opinion thing, right? Like, absolutely, that's what this whole thing show's about. But when I listen to them, I could tell you right now, probably about 40 to 50 songs that I would just go through. Their albums are unskippable to me. Again, what's really been cool with them is that they started out in that pop punk kind of emo time, 2005, and then have just every album have progressed. And if you for a minute tell me that Haley Williams doesn't have pipes on her, you're lying, or you don't have ears. The girl can sing. In fact, there was a meme I saw the other day that was like, you guys ever listen to a Paramore song and start singing and you're like, nah, I'm gonna let Haley take that. That's kind of how it is, because she just is so dang good. And if you see her, she's like, 5 foot nothing, 85 pounds. Like, she's just tiny, but this girl can sing. I've seen them twice live. I went once with just my wife years ago. And in fact, I got to bring my daughters to their first concert to go see Paramore. They were in heaven over it. Haley is just, to me, it doesn't get any better. When I said Ladies of Rock, this is every now and then. Now, we've started doing these Rushmore revisiteds, and where we'll go back and we'll look at our Rushmores from years before. And I just did one of N64. There's going to be some more that are coming up. And my N64 picks changed a little bit, kind of shifted around. I added some, I took some out. Every now and then I'll do a Rushmore where I consider one of the people immovable, or one of the things immovable. This is for sure an immovable force when it comes to Ladies of Rock. She is always going to be number one. I could talk about Haley Williams forever. But again, like I said, when you talk about the progression of music, again, starting out that way, they've kind of gone to they had an album that was like an 80s pop rock kind of album. Still Into You, Misery Business, All I Wanna, Decode, The Only Exception. They actually just released a cover. We're going to talk about covers next week, I believe, of Burning Down the House by Talking Heads. It's so good. If you haven't listened to it, it's so good. But, we're now Daydreaming, Ain't It Fun? I already said Still Into You, Ankle Biters. There's just, again, I listen to every one of them. There's some people who are like, man, I just don't like what they've done with their style change. I've been all for it. The This Is Why album that just came out has some really great hits. When you go see them live, they are fantastic live. She has the most energy I've ever seen. Yeah. Again, this isn't a show just about Paramore. I did jokingly talk to Kirk through a chat and said I would struggle to give you a top 4 songs because I'd have to limit it to 4. And Kirk said I would struggle to find 4. So, and again, I know it's a generational difference. I know that there's a difference in opinion of that kind of stuff, but just from a purely subjective, like if you just look at it and you're just being as honest and you listen to her voice, I don't know many that do it better than what Haley does. Haley also not too far from where we're from. She's from Meridian, Mississippi originally. So born and raised Meridian, Mississippi. In fact, last thing, when they put out their first album, they formed a band in junior high. When they put out the first album, Haley was like, I don't know, she's the same age as me. So she was like 15, 14 or 15, putting out the first album. It was kind of around that same time I was in bands. So it almost feels like we were like growing up at the same time, but she has become extremely way more successful at everything of what we have. But yeah, so Haley Williams, my number one, my George, without a doubt.
Yeah, it goes without saying. Since I've known you, this is your type of music. Although you were in a heavy metal screamo type band, and then you did a little pop punk with it. If you get to know Andy enough, he is probably much more in the pop punk side as far as his real love, although he's really well versed in all these other things. And Haley Williams and Paramore has come up numerous times, especially like recently with them going to the concert. And I mentioned to him, I said, okay, hey, I here's the reason. Like, and nothing against her. You are absolutely right. She's got pipes. I'm never taking that away. But I can't tell the difference between everyone. Like they all, like, to me, they all sound very similar. And you're crazy, but I like hear it. They almost start the same. She starts singing the same, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of like the last song that we just heard. But the four, I told you I had four, and I brought them up to you in the little chat. Misery Business, Still Into You, That's What You Get, and Decode. That would be probably my four, and then I kind of fall off a mountain after that. Because you were like mentioning all these Ignorance, and you mentioned Daydreaming. I would listen. I was like, this, I have nothing for this. I have zero for this. I don't even know this song. You're like, man, I put it on repeat. I was like, well, I've never owned a Paramore song or CD, and I've never put it on repeat. But those are the ones that I've heard on the radio.
Rose Colored Boy, Told You So, Forgiveness, Fake
Happy. I'm not saying. I mean, you're the fanboy.
All
You
the
love
middle.
it. I just, yeah. And she
listen to the album. Listen to the album.
When we go on vocalist, you mentioned her in vocalist plenty. She's a fantastic. She's got a fantastic voice. It's really, it's really.
You go listen to the album After Laughter from 2017. It is very much like new wave, 80s pop synth rock stuff. It's super cool what they did. People again started kind of not liking them for that, but I'll listen to that whole album too. Again,
Dave, what you think about Haley Williams?
I know some of Paramore's music, and I do respect what they do. I wouldn't put them on my top.
I get it.
Yeah, certainly nothing wrong with them. She does have a lot of talent.
Yep. She's always my number one.
Hey, look, well, we've got some new folks in here. Jenny, welcome to the show. Jenny, she hasn't been mentioned, but she is definitely out there ready to be chosen in our next segment. Mm-hmm. We call it all about your Benjamins. And it's basically there's this old lore that there's an idea that while the Rushmore is only 4 presidents, that Benjamin Franklin was thought to be a 5th head that could have joined them. And it's kind of like our honorable mentions. So this portion of the show is where we give you who just missed the mountain. Let's get it.
Nice.
All right. So if you're new to the show, this is our honorable mentions time. Dave, you're going first. I'm going second. Andy goes third. Here's the 2 catches. 1, we can't mention anybody that's already been mentioned. This is honorable mentions that have not been mentioned. And once somebody chooses one, we can't mention it again. So that's going to be the first 3 picks. But in the second round, it comes back like fantasy football. So Andy's going to get 2 back-to-back picks to get his 4. I'm going to have all the middle picks. You get a pick, then back-to-back. And your last pick is Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy of the Ladies of Rock. And that's how we're going to end our show. So, Dave, you're first. And give us somebody that hasn't been mentioned yet.
So, Andy, you mentioned that Annie Lennox looks really good for her age. You want to add several years, and a very important Lady of Rock who was almost my Rosie before I put Cyndi Lauper in her place, is 78 and looks fantastic. I'm talking about Debbie Harry.
Nice. I almost went there. That was, you're taking it from my Benjamins. So now my Benjamins are struggling. They're struggling.
Yeah, they're struggling.
All right, Kirk, we're to you now.
So let me pull my list up because I've got here where we at. So
I'll do a bit.
So I have one that I think you're going to pick, Andy, and I think I don't want to take it from you necessarily because you're struggling. So I'm going to go and jump back into the 80s. What?
Thank you for the mercy.
Yeah, I think you might take one of the ones I want to take right here. But I'll jump back in the 80s. You took Blondie. I'm going with another great 80s lady. I'm going with Pat Benatar.
Excellent.
Pat Benatar. And man, it's fantastic. Like, this is what I want to hear when I go to the skating rink. This is what I want to hear going to the skating rink. You know what I mean? So
we belong.
What you laughing about, Andy?
You took a Benjamin.
Yep.
I took one of your Benjamins.
Oh my gosh,
he's running out of bennies.
Bro, I ran to the 80s on purpose, thinking you probably had a few more.
It's okay. I got enough. All right, so I'm going to go. This is where I start to bring in some people who are not singers, some ladies who are non-vocalists. I'm going to bring them in here. I get back-to-back picks, so I'm going to pick two right here, two drummers, actually. Actually, one of them is kind of a vocalist. There's some balloons again. Apparently, when I give peace signs every now and then, I don't know. I don't even know how I trigger that. Anyway, so my first pick is going to be, my first Benjamin is going to be Jen Ledger from Skillet. I'm going to pick the drummer / vocalist from Skillet. I'm going there.
Yeah, dude, I was holding that for my 8th spot.
I know you are. I know. I got to pick her. I got to give love to the drummers. I've been playing drums for 20 plus years now. And then, you know, to dual vocal that too at the same time is just crazy, and to have a good voice like she does. I mean, it's just, you don't see that happen often. So Jen Ledger going there, and then I'm going to go for another drummer. Why not? Let's pick another drummer. She is not a vocalist, but I'm going to go with Meg White from the White Stripes.
Oh man,
Meg White.
Where's Aaron Brown out there? He's not on the show. He's not on the show.
White Stripes.
I was holding this one.
A lot of it is because of Jack White, but here's the deal, and I'll say this: no knock on Meg White's drumming. If you could be as pocket and simple as she is, and still have, I mean, literally, everybody thinks of the bass line to Seven Nation Army, but there's that underlying kick drum the whole time. Mm-hmm. She didn't do anything crazy, but it just is. She paints a picture with her music, and it's just so good. So, to me, the simpler sometimes the better. And I'm always gonna go with Meg White there. So I got two drummers. All right, I can pick four drummers really if I wanted to.
That's a fantastic pick. Aaron Brown would have chose that right off the bat. Jenny, you're a little late to the game. That was on my list, but yeah, Hart. Well, not Nancy. I took yep, but I didn't take yep. But hey, let's jump into mine. Andy, I know there's at least 2, maybe 3 that you are absolutely not going to pick. So I'm going to hold them off till later if I need them. Hold them off till later. I'm going to go here with someone that I'm supposed to see in June, right after camp. I'm going with Joan Jett. With Joan Jett in the Blackheart, baby. Because if you look down right here, I just need to put another dime in the jukebox, baby. So right there on my pick. So I love rock and roll. Going with that.
And you got the Joan Jett and Pat Benatar. Boy, you are stacking your deck there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm pulling the 80s out now. So you're up, dude.
All right. I'm going to go with some 90s Wild Child. So Sleater Kinney.
Okay. Tell me a little bit.
You guys not quite familiar with them?
I don't know. The 90s pick that I don't know. Go ahead.
Really? Okay. They are Sleater Kinney. And early O's and such. Yeah. Based out of
Sleater
Portland.
Kinney.
Yeah.
Oh.
Based out of Portland, I believe. Songs like
Olympia, Washington.
They're from Olympia, Little Babies. Okay, well, all right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's like a two-man,
is another great one. Mm-hmm. And they are
rock, indie rock,
a lot of fun to listen to. Yeah.
Rock. Andy, this seems like right up your alley. How'd you not know this one?
Yeah.
I'm gonna look it up for sure.
It sounds like you're kind of jammed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna listen to them when we get off, as well as the Shags. So, Dave,
you get another one.
You going next?
So we got the Sleater Kinney. My next one. Man, going next. I'm going to go for another 90s and early O's. PJ Harvey.
Oh, I know that one.
Okay.
PJ Harvey, good pick. Good pick. I had that one on my pick for a little short list. All right, man. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Somebody mentioned it over here just a minute ago. Jenny, I think you mentioned it. Holding on to her for a little bit. It's not quite often that you have an African American lady in rock, but gotta go with Tina Turner.
Good one.
Gotta
That's a
bring
good
on Tina Turner. Dude, I'm just gonna throw this out there. I immediately think of Tina Turner. I think of Mad Max and the Thunderdome. I mean, just right to it. But man, Tina Turner. You want to talk about have pipes? Sit down and listen to a Tina Turner album and try and figure out like how she does that stuff, man. She is fantastic. Oh, legs. Yeah. Yeah.
Left a good job in the city. And she's running the whole time and singing. It's crazy, man. Yeah.
And she's got like heels this high.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah. What's
Yeah.
love got to do with it? What does love have to do with it?
Got nothing to do with it if you're a prisoner of love and you keep on rolling.
Yeah.
Right. Andy.
All right. So
I left one out there for you.
Dennis is here. Dennis. Boom, boom. Just got here, but Stevie Nicks, no. Stevie Nicks is on my.
There.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Dennis, I've left her out here up for 7 picks because I knew Andy absolutely loves Stevie Nicks.
Stevie's on my list too.
Oh, well, I'm not taking Stevie Nicks.
I'm not taking Stevie, but Dennis, I'm not taking Stevie yet, but Dennis, she's still available.
Here's where I'm going to go. Let's not scare Dennis away because I actually was texting Dennis earlier before we're filming and just running by some things here. And Dennis, I'm going to mention this singer because a lot of my Benjamins were taken and I've got nowhere to go. So let's see what you think about this one. I'm going to educate you guys. I think I'm going to educate you guys. Dave, you educated us about the Shags and a couple other ones. Here's one to look up. The band is called I Wrestled a Bear Once, and it's one word. And the girl's name is Courtney Stringer. It is a death metal. She's like screaming like crazy. I Wrestled a Bear Once. They have a song called Tastes Like Kevin Bacon. You should check that one out. And Dennis is going to be a fan of that one. This was because you took Pat Benatar, I had to do this. You forced my hand to take Courtney Stringer from I Wrestled a Bear Once. Look them up, not when you're around kids. My last pick, my next one is, and Dennis will hate me for this one because we talked about this one too, and he didn't like this band, but I'm going to go Lacey Sturm from Flyleaf. Flyleaf was, again, that early 2000s Christian kind of heavier band. I like her. I went and saw them live. They played with Disturbed and Stone Sour, and Flyleaf opened for that show. Yeah. And they were a pleasant Christian surprise. Band. Yeah. Oh yeah. They're a Christian band for sure. And they opened up for them and they did fantastic. They didn't have all the pyro that the other bands had, but just from a musician standpoint, they were solid. And this girl is another one like Haley, who's walking around, who's like 4'7". She has no shoes on. She's just headbanging, going crazy. So my last pick, Lacey Sturm, right?
So I
see
have
Jenny.
A feeling that my next pick, Andy's not going to like no matter which direction I go, just because I know him a little bit. But I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Avril Lavigne.
Oh, wow. Nice call.
We got a lot of Canadians today.
Didn't even think about her.
Nice. I love that pick.
I'm going Avril Lavigne. I could have went the 270s, hoping Dave's going to pick one of them. But yeah, Avril. I'm going to go with her because I think she was almost on my bigger list.
Let me correct myself. Dennis is educating me here. The singer that I mentioned is the new singer. I had no idea what the singer's name was. But the original one is Krista Cameron. That's from I Wrestled a Bear.
I saw that.
So just so you guys see that, Krista Cameron. But just look up I Wrestled a Bear Once.
And,
listen to
Courtney LaPlante was the second one.
So
Jenny,
look up.
Evanescence was mentioned already. Yeah, and Jenny, by the way, this might be Andy's least favorite song in the world. Just saying. I I've heard him complain about this song enough. Sorry. Yeah.
I wish a landslide would take me away when that song comes on. All right, let's do our final pick. Dave, you've got your last, right? Did you go yet, Kurt? Did I?
Yeah, Avril Lavigne. I took Avril.
Oh, Avril Lavigne. You did. Yeah, you said Avril Lavigne. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get
Look at
too
this. Look
complicated.
at this. Look at this fun little get.
Yeah, I would not have done
Wow.
that because just listen to her sing or scream. Yeah, it's terrifying. All right, Dave, you are up. You have the final pick. You have every other female rock person ever in the world.
Mhm.
You have
Yep.
to narrow down to this last one.
Do it,
Where you
Dave.
go?
Help me out. One of the two that I left out there.
Man, I still got 15 on my list.
Yeah, I got plenty.
Yeah. Oh gosh, who's it going to be? I'm going to go 80s, a lesser known Pearl Harbor and the Explosions is the band. The singer's name is Pearl E. Gates.
Oh, no way.
She used to be a dancer for the Tubes. She's a beauty. She was engaged to Paul from the Clash for a long while. Their biggest hit was Flirt, Go Out and Be a Flirt. Some of the other ones that are really fun to dance with, listen to, are Drive-In, Shut Up and Dance, Heaven is Gonna Be Empty, Fujiyama Mama, Busy Little B-Side, Hula Love. They blend a Polynesian punk, new wave, and dance pop.
I'm intrigued
Yeah.
already.
They sometimes tour with the redneck bands like Southern Culture on the Skids and people like that. The Rockabilly Psychobilly group. Yeah, I know Janis Joplin and Stevie Nicks. They were really there. Same with
Never
Grace
make my
Slick.
list.
I know.
Never make my list. It bears mentioning. I am adamantly not a fan of Stevie Nicks. Janis Joplin, I could do it. So here's the deal. Janis Joplin has good songs that she wrote. I just wish somebody else sang them. You know what I mean? But Stevie Nicks, there's just some, I don't get it. I don't get why people love it. So, and I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just whatever, but I don't, whatever. Anyway.
But
It's an unpopular opinion, it's a hot take. I know that I get to be in the minority about a lot of things when it comes to opinions, and this is definitely one of those.
But Janis Joplin is to rock as Neil Young is to rock.
And I don't like Neil Young.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't
For
like
you,
Neil Young either.
That's kind of where you're at. Because they have
Yeah, rock would have still been okay. More Stevie Ickes, am I right? That's right, Dennis. That's right.
Stevie Ickes.
Yeah.
Dennis, welcome to the show, man. I can't wait to have you. Dennis is a part of Invoke the Nightmare. Invoke the Nightmare is 7 people are coming on?
I don't even know. We had everybody was in the
a lot
band.
of people. It's going to be the longest show we've ever had. And for this point, I think we're going to do Guilty Pleasures. I think. That's what's what we're doing? Guilty Pleasures.
Dennis, we're doing Guilty Pleasure. Top 4 Guilty Pleasure songs. We're
Bob
doing that.
Dylan. There you go. Bob Dylan also is the same as, yes. Yeah, Jenny, you hit the nail on the head. That's how he feels about Stevie Nicks and Janis Joplin. And on the boom, boom, boom. He can't.
How does it feel? I hate that, man. It's just
Yes.
his
Jenny,
son.
welcome to the show. Thanks for hanging out, man. Hey, so that's our show for today. I've got several. I'll probably put them in the comments later when this whole thing kind of goes around. Speaking of that, I got to go back in last episode, which was with Pop Culture Pastor, and we did movie soundtracks. I've got a huge list to throw in that one, to go back and do in that one that I got to add. But I'll put the extras that I haven't mentioned down in my the bottom here. Jenny, I just want to let you know, hopefully you hang around a while because we call you guys call everybody the Summit Squad when you hang around. Hopefully you like and subscribe and share. We're going to be talking music for the next 5 weeks. Then we're going to jump into movies and television, which, Dave, I think you might come back and join us eventually. I think movies and TV is pretty booked. We're going to have a stunt guy on. We've got a guy who's writing his own story. We have Five Nights at Freddy's joining us. We have a couple other guys. Man, we have a lot of people. And then we're going to jump into nostalgia, which we have 3 wrestlers that are hopefully joining us, and then some other my friends and Andy's friends. Then we then go, Jenny, we jump in. After nostalgia, we do sports, food, and then we'll start the new year back off with video games and music again. So if you hang around with us, man, we would love for you to sit back and enjoy. This is every Thursday or Friday usually. Yep. But let's talk about, I just kind of mentioned what's coming up, but here's the deal. We have Invoke the Nightmare, who is going to hopefully, I think, do Guilty Pleasures. We have next week, Polka and that's Trevor, and we have Daniel Eller, who's also going to be in Invoke the Nightmare. They're coming on. They're a group, a tandem that does comic book podcasts. And Trev also does, he's a PokeTuber. So you go on and you open Pokemon, and man, that's a big deal on YouTube. Both of them are coming on, and we're going to do cover songs. That's going to be a fantastic show. And we have 2 more lined up. Off the top of my head, I can't remember because we are already booked to like July or August. So, Dave, I'm so glad you were able to jump in with us. And Dave, where can they find if they want to watch anything that you've done or see some of the stuff that you're kind of putting out there?
Yeah, check out my website, davemattingly.net, and I'm very active on Facebook and occasionally a few other places too.
Nice.
Perfect. I'll put all that down in our description. And yeah, you need a girl. Well, girl dad he's got lots of girls, and we have girls on the show quite a bit there, Jenny. I have 2 daughters, obviously married. My wife's been on, his wife's been on, both my daughters have been on, his daughter's been on. We have girls come on fairly often, just not as often as guys because we're usually talking shop. But man, I would love to have you, and if you want to participate, maybe let me just throw this out there. We got 7 people on. Hopefully all of you have liked the page and subscribed if you haven't already. But this is the goal. The bigger plan is that when you guys come and join us in the future, we'll put a link in the comments there. And if you want to jump on and share your top 4 during the Benjamin time, you can jump on and share your top 4. That's kind of the plan that Andy and I have been wrestling around. So, yeah, there's that. Last thing, a couple things we got to share, Andy, before we head out, man. We are about to be April 20th at St. Tammany Collectors Con. It is in Mandeville, Louisiana. That's where Andy and I are from originally, from the North Shore of Louisiana on the other side of the Lake Pontchartrain of New Orleans. And there is a show there that we are participating in. Andy is preaching at the show, and we're going to bring the word. Andy is inviting one of his friends from the band to come and play the cajon and do worship for us. And we're going to have a great time. Sergeant Slaughter and Ninja Turtles guys, the comic book men. Batgirl. Batgirl's going to be there. Hopefully we get to interview her from back in the day. And hopefully you'll see them on live. We'll be live all weekend and trying to bounce in and out. Hopefully you guys come and check us out, and we'll live stream the message as well. So that's the next big thing coming up. That's April 20th, 19th and 20th, or 20th, 21st, whatever that Saturday, Sunday is. And yes, he is risen. He absolutely has. The tomb is empty. And yeah, that'll be right past Easter. So it's going to be a great time. Hey, Andy, you have anything else you want to share with our friends?
I love all of you.
Wait a second. Time out. Jenny,
Jenny
check
out
has
my show.
channel called the 80s channel. Everybody check this out. The 80s channel.fm. Jenny, where is this at? Where, like, on YouTube, on podcast, on the radio? Where can I find that? Put that in the comments so we all. But Jenny, we have nostalgia coming up, and it is all about our childhood. I talk 80s shop. Andy usually talks 90s shop. We've talked toys. We've talked cereal. We've talked MTV videos. We've talked commercials. We've talked all kinds of things from the children, from our past. We'd love to have someone on to do that. And Dave, you're always welcome back, man. We just enjoy always the different perspectives and where we're all from, man. And we have the likewise mission. Streaming on.
Yeah, we all have the same boss and we all have the same job.
And he says, check out her show. Yeah, I want to check her out.
Huh?
There it is. All right.
Is that it?
I've
80s
I've
channel.
already got the 80s channel bookmark. I listen to it every now and then.
Awesome.
We are
That
there.
is so cool.
So, yeah, Jenny, you're definitely a part. If you want to see any of the creators and hosts that have been on, if they have a YouTube channel, if they do, they're in our front page. I think there's been almost 32 different creators. Go and follow all of them. They're all amazing. They're all fun folks, and they're good people. So, Andy, it is time to tell our friends good night.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, let's say goodnight like we always do. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4
And nothing more.
Peace.